Hi, you're listening to Linda Pinizzotto here at the Condo Expert, sponsored by Bayshore Health and Wellbeing and powered by the Hayes FM. Randy, I just thought of something, shared facilities. You know, we never talked about that part, and that's an interesting part. And the reason is because, you know, it's very, very common today for builders to build more than one building. Because what they want to do is they want to share on the amenities.
Right.
So, exactly. So rather than, you know, building one or two, now they're even going 3 or 4 or they're doing one part, which is a condo hotel. They're doing another part, which is a recreation center. And now there's talk about all different other styles. Again, all new concepts or a lot of changing concepts coming to the forefront. The interesting part is this is requiring for everyone, all the boards, to work together.
Okay. That's another sort of level of complexity.
Exactly. Because now we're talking about, for instance, if you have 4 different parts to the shared, that means you've got 4 different boards. So if you got 5 people per board, you have 20 people here that need to all agree.
Wow.
On shared facilities. And the interesting part is if you have, you know, one property manager that's handling everything, or say you have disputes or whatever that's going on, then technically speaking, and then you have a separate reserve fund that's going to be for the shared, you're right. The complexity behind that, if you bring a commercial entity to the picture, then it's even more complex. And if you take, say, land only, you could do that as well. There's a section of land only. So what I'm saying is that diversifying condominiums with new designs and new platforms and new initiatives. Again, we're not just talking about now building materials and construction, the way they're being built. We're actually talking about the whole new operations of condominiums.
And yeah, I mean, and that is something I sound like a broken record here, but that would be definitely something that we'd like to hear about. Anyone who's, been involved with having to sort of, negotiate that, in terms of the actual operations, that would be fascinating to hear about because, I mean, as you and I just said, I mean, the complexity of it, but, also the newness of it. I mean, we hardly know, at least in academia, we hardly know anything about how boards work, how they relate to residents, unless you've been in a condo, but to find out how, different boards relate to other boards in a situation where they essentially have to agree on something. And then, as you say, also in relation to the property manager, yeah, that would be interesting to find out about.
So maybe there actually needs to be some separate kind of a protocol of some sort that would be specific, like standard of care, specific to shared facilities. Like, I mean, there should be something that would actually force a mechanism to work together. Because, I mean, if you're doing a majority vote, you can do that, but you can't do it in shares. In shared facilities, you have what's called as a reciprocal agreement. So there has to be a representative from each corporation. So you can't move forward even with a majority vote. Because everybody has to have their input.
Right. Gotcha.
Right?
I mean, do you think the review is considering this?
Up until now, I mean, they've touched on the fact that, yes, there's shared facilities and, yes, there's a reciprocal agreement. But I don't really know how much specific research is being handled with respect to comments relating to the concept.
Okay.
You see, have we actually found out the problems of that?
Okay.
Is the question. Because, I mean, even if they put a huge recreational facility, you see, when builders are building these, it's actually really convenient for them. They can build one huge recreation facility and everybody can use it. And, I'm sure with building permits and everything else, when you're doing 1, 2, 3, 4 phases, it's fine. But I also know of a phase, actually, that's happened, in the suburb area where the builder changed his mind about what he wanted to build as the second phase. And now it became a rental mixed low profit housing, which has to get tied into the original building where it's all condominium owners.
I see.
Do you see what I'm talking
Yeah.
about? And now they're also incorporating suites because they want to create affordable housing. So they're bringing in affordable housing suites into the building. So there's another little concept going on there, which is different. And it's not to isolate anybody about, where their income levels are. It's not a case of that. It's just a case of trying to understand the mechanism of how the whole thing is going to work to the benefit of all the corporations. Do you see? So that you don't have animosity building because somebody paid this and somebody else paid that. And, you don't want to build animosity. You want to keep a good condo community relationship.
Yes. I mean, it would be interesting to know what, to what extent these arrangements have been looked at, from the United States, because, like I'm just thinking of the gated communities, in a lot of cases they had those kinds of setups, especially the larger ones, with shared facilities. So I guess what I'm suggesting is there must be some examples out there that that work, and obviously some that probably don't work. But it's not as though I'm guessing that this probably isn't brand new for North America, and hence there must be some legislative reform or some regulations in place, or even just on a sort of case by case basis. There must be some information available from the U.S. where this has been again in place for a while, and perhaps they've been able to smooth over some of the rough patches.
Right now, they have basically the Condo Act covers it, like as far as reciprocal agreements and so on. They cover it more of a FYI, this is the way it's supposed to do. This is the Provincial Condo Act, and this is how you're supposed to be handling it. However, it's self-enforced. So you see, so the problem is that, unless both corporations or 2 or 3 or 4 want to get into mediation and arbitration and dispute resolutions or try to come to some terms with one another, it becomes, there's no forced type of structure that would maybe try to take the heat off, in other words. You see, now, I mean, it's a tough one, but it's certainly something maybe condo owners out there. I'm opening that door because it's possible that, condo board members, more specific to them, would have information that would be invaluable for you with respect to that kind of a structure. Because sometimes condo owners don't really know what's going on with that. That's kind of a behind-the-scenes feuds going on between different condo buildings that are all supposed to be working together.
Right, yeah. No, and definitely be interested in hearing about it. Again, I don't want to say a bit of a disadvantage, but, because we haven't done the research to any great extent yet, I'm at a bit of a loss for a quick answer to that. But certainly there must be some models, beyond the legislative sort of framework, but the way that things actually work, that would sort of be interesting to know about and perhaps, in some cases reproduce.
Oh, yeah. Well, the sky's the limit.
Sure. Yeah, no, absolutely.
The sky's the limit. Like, seriously, I welcome all the condo owners out there. If you're listening to the show, or tell your friends and family, anybody that you know, co-workers, to step up and help out the University of Windsor, help out Randy Lippert with this review that they're doing, because this study is very important. I think that what they're doing is that, literally, you're taking a North American view.
Yes.
Of everything.
Yes. Right.
So up until now, I've heard within Canada, started out province. Actually, way back when, I think it started out municipal. And then it went to province, and now there's that little overview of the federal side or the provincial, the Canadian side. But now, if we're looking at templates of what's happening, like in New York City and other areas in the United States, that is, you said Arizona, they've had that much condo development?
Well, again, I think mostly as gated complexes. But yeah, homeowner associations in that respect, to the extent that, they overlap with condo corporations, that, they have had a lot of experience. And, in some cases, a lot of bad experiences. But yeah, I mean, the comparative aspect of the study, I think, is important because, the condo legislation in Ontario comes from a similar mother, right? It comes primarily from the United States, in the late 1960s, and they borrowed from Puerto Rico, where they first set up the legislation, and so on and so forth. It was in Europe, much earlier than that. But there's no reason to think that there aren't good examples there that we can draw from, and vice versa. And so, I mean, I think that's why it's so important to do comparative research if possible. Rather than just assume that, what's relevant only occurs within your jurisdiction, and, then you try and reinvent the wheel.
There's no point to it.
No.
And there's absolutely no point to reinvent the wheel because, I agree with you. I mean, everything that we learn today, if you think about our beautiful airplanes up in the sky, they followed the path. I mean, even radio, even telephone, Alexander Graham Bell. I mean, how many times did Thomas Edison have to do his attempts for electricity? How many times was it? I think I read it somewhere
That's
once.
A good question.
I was
That's out of my
shocked.
area.
I was shocked. I mean, he had how many failures? It was a ridiculous amount before he actually found the solution.
Mm-hmm.
But on his past, moving forward, he kept learning from experience, things that didn't work, problems that came up. So, I mean, for us not to use that as templates.
Right, and we have to hear about the experiences
Yes.
of owners and board members because it is so hard to, to know. They're sort of isolated, and unless you get those experiences, you can't make sort of generalizations about what is happening or what should be done.
So I think the key thing is that somehow we have to, with this show, is make sure that everybody out there recognizes that this is an important initiative. It is the perfect opportunity for them to be able to give out invaluable information that they really probably don't even realize that they have so much great information.
Right. Yeah. No, that's very true.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, some people don't think
they don't even realize it.
That's right. And when you speak with them, it's like, oh, wow, that's interesting. And that's also interesting. And I mean, I think that's the case. And condos, and sometimes, I mean, this as well. They're sort of taken for granted, and to a degree. But again, you scratch beneath the surface and, they're very interesting in terms of both to live in, but also in terms of the governance. It's so complex and there's so many, things at stake, and it's going to be a fascinating research project.
Oh, 100%. So basically, I just thought of a slogan, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, you know what? You know how you get the buttons, I am a girl. Remember all the buttons that went out, and was it right? And whenever they have these promo type things, they make the buttons.
Mm-hmm, yes.
Okay, I am a condo owner and my voice is important. So they need to do that. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming on the show today. And certainly we're going to be working together, Randy. So you're telling me this is a 3 and 4 years, so I have to block my calendar for the next 3 and 4 years and make sure that we get this done right.
Yeah, no, that's great. I really appreciate the opportunity of, to come on and talk about the research. And I do hope you'll have me back to
100%.
Talk about the results. So
well, we want to hear the updates. Absolutely.
Okay.
No, absolutely, and keep everybody informed. And then as different little parts of the picture come together, there might be other parts of information that you may need, and then we have to ask the public again to step up. So it's, I think creating a working element here together is fantastic. I think it's great what you're doing. It really seriously is.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So before we end the show, if you could give that information out again to our audience, that would be great. Everybody grab a pen, write it down.
Participants can contact me at Condo Study. It's one word at uwindsor.ca. That's via email. I also have a very rudimentary Facebook page, which as the study goes, it'll get better. It's 2 words, Condo Study, and people can message me there. They can also contact me via telephone 519-253-3000. 3496. And because this has gone through, university ethics, there's also, of course, a ethics consent form that, we'll send to you. And even if you just have questions about the research at this point, I'm happy to respond to any questions you might have. And in some cases, not in some cases, I'm even willing to, give you the interview questions ahead of time if you feel more comfortable with that as well.
Perfect. So I am figuring that you're going to get lots of emails and telephone calls, and we're going to get the show on the road.
I'm very much hoping.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Randy. It's been such a pleasure. You're listening to Linda Pinizzotto here at the Condo Expert, sponsored by Bayshore Health and Wellbeing and powered by the Hayes FM. You have a fantastic day.